I was asked to undertake a few words around the nature of the show, which is Corrugated and Print. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then people actually, they like some of the statistical information that I provide. So I'm going to give some statistics as well. What I want to do, for those people that don't know myself, I'm Neil Osment. I run a business called Noah. I have 3 of my team in the audience, so I have the advantage over Kim and Joe. I just need to show these ladies. So if you'd like to stand up and show who you are. So this is, there we go. Okay, they're standing up. So that's my team. So, and what do we do? So we do 2 things. Coaching and consultancy is one side, and we do market research on the other, and I'm going to use some of this information for today. I had the opportunity of presenting at the ICCA event in May, so we do some work in the States as well. So, what do I cover? Yeah. So what I want to do is a little bit about printing trends, something about the comparison. We've seen some details that Kim and Joe have told us about, and want to be able to compare a little bit about across the pond, trends in Europe, and then statistics. So I wanted to dwell on this one. So part of the ICA work that we've been privileged to do for the last 4 years is to analyze what are global trends within prints. And I thought we have lots of 150 tables that we have. This is one of the tables that might be quite interesting, just to say globally what's happening with print. And I'll complement some of the things that Kim was saying. The percentage that conventional print has versus decorative print. And so decorative print are all these categories. So I wanted to show this slide just to say what are the categories that come into decorative. And you can see starting with pre-print, high quality print. And you can see that the percentage is about 85% versus about 15% in the world. So just have those 2 figures in your mind, 85% and 15% for decorative. And notice that 1.2% there, digital, pretty small, 1.2 on average across the globe. So, So just to take that, so on a North American context, and as Kim indicated, North America is Canada, America, and Mexico. So actually a higher percentage of decorative versus conventional flexographic print. And then and just some background details to that. So people had asked me, said, can you give us some details about what's happening in North America to complement what we've heard today? Much like in the UK, demand for shelf-ready packaging has grown for many years. A little bit, probably the last 10, 15 years, and I think you'll see what I say about the European trend, but it's been an important change within corrugated in the North American market, as it has been here in the European market. Digital growing, investments in new printers, and I put on here likely to triple. That sounds marvelous, but triple from a small base. So what might have been 6 digital printers sold last year could be 20 digital printers sold across all of North America in this period. And print and the benefits of customers are wanting shorter and shorter runs, and they're wanting more and more variety. We're seeing that in the European market, same thing happening in the American market. So it's small print runs, large production runs are what's required, and the benefit that digital is bringing is allowing that to happen. I was talking with somebody who was saying about in the Canadian market, the agricultural market over on the west coast, a lot of farmers want to be able to have their particular print, but the opportunity of that large print run had not been able to be available, but digital print is affording that in agriculture, and it's happening in many markets. So that's what's being seen. And then this trend, we're talking about achieving speeds of high speeds, one pass, that's occurring. And we heard earlier about that it's mainly UV ink seeing the growth in that particular area because in America, UV ink is more acceptable, I think, and in the markets that are being served. And that sheet plants and integrated plants are mainly replacing screen printers for POS usage. So that's the main area. And that digital, it's still a niche. And my feedback was it's probably 1, maybe 2% of the whole market. And bear in mind that figure of 1.2, that about 2% is significantly higher than the global average. So in Europe, and this figure is a higher figure for conventional print, and so around about 20% for the decorative print that's required. And in fact, the breakdown in Europe, I can give the details of this. So an important area like high quality post-print, about 6.3% of that 19. So high quality post-print for shelf-ready packaging, nearly 7% of the European market. And what are we seeing in the European market? Well, we've had shelf-ready packaging pioneered perhaps in the UK market. That certainly has, I've understood that, growing in the European market, helping retailers be able to position their product very well, and has been very successful over the last 20 years. Europe was an early adopter for digital print, but that was slowed down with the quite onerous requirements for contact with food. And we know in the European market, there's been a lot of conversation about the recycled ink and the progression of ink into foods and the potential for foods to be contaminated, and to the extent that there was European legislation that was likely to be passed. So that has stopped, that whole thing has stopped us being able to make the progress at the pace that we'd wanted to. And then there's the question mark about how is digital print used. There was a small mention of it today about actually digital print could be used as an efficiency driver. And we know actually both in Europe and in America that there are some companies investing in equipment that allows them to be able to run on a corrugator and then have completely plain machines further downstream. So that's a way of digital potentially being a high volume method of delivering customer requirements, but it's perhaps has a way to go. It is digital print a niche market. It certainly seems that way, and the panel were talking in the way that they were, that it's taken a slow period of time to get to here. I remember a conversation with one of the print companies, the print machine companies, who was saying it's going to be a hockey stick effect. It's at least 10 years, and that was 7 years ago. So there's in their estimation, there was still another 3 or 4 years still to run, and that was 7 years ago. That was their estimation. And could it be a mass niche market? And one of the customers that we're talking to, they're in the carton industry. We do a lot of work carton and corrugated. This customer in the carton industry is saying they've actually been able to grow as a result of digital print a completely new market. And it's the market of vaping. So vaping starting small, growing. And it might be a bit like Kim's market that she talked about with the cannabis market. Could it come to Europe? Could it come to the UK? It certainly would be a new market, and perhaps it could benefit from digital print as a result of small print runs and being able to satisfy a lot of people's requirements for different print. So that's a potential area. People ask me, could you give some information about the European market? So I'm using that opportunity so that for those people in the SPA, particularly Sheep Plant Association, and those that are interested. So what's happening? What's happening in Europe? Very different picture from the last few years. So supply exceeding demand. A lot of recycled capacity that's come on board and come on stream. So recycled paper in particular, much more available. Paper stocks, we often used to look at paper stocks, and paper stocks had reduced significantly over the last couple of years. They've come back, they're starting to come back, not quite at the 2017 levels, and 2017 was when we had a good amount of paper before the restriction came in place. And in Europe, some of the effect of Brexit. Now you'll be saying, well, in what way? There's supply situation from Europe into the UK for brand owners, where the Brexit effect has caused them to have a flux in their production requirements. So Brexit's had an effect, both on this side of the water and on the other side of the water. But Europe has, I put there as flatline, Europe since about June of last year, from a corrugated point of view, demand has dropped significantly. So to the UK, what's been happening? For those, again, who've been familiar with these, I show the direction of travel for corrugated in the UK. This is the production figure for 2018. So you can see last year, growth, significant growth, and it ended up about plus 2% after a year before, where it was plus 3%. So still growing, well, sorry, still plus 3% last year as well. Where's it been going this year? Well, it's much more of a seesaw effect for growth. And that's a large part of that to do with a slowdown in demand, but also this strange effect of Brexit, people stocking up on cases requiring a jump in requirement. And then, as you can see, a couple of red markers there indicate that we're not ahead of last year. So it's been a seesaw year, I would say, for 2019 so far. And my summary, really, corrugated for the UK, it's grown in 2019, but is that an effect of just Brexit? And since March, we've certainly felt the effect of people destocking, so all that storage of particularly chilled products, frozen products, we know that that's got to go into the marketplace for brand owners. So we're in a positive position versus the rest of Europe. There's a lot of not just recycled paper, but also extra sheet feeding capacity. And you've seen a couple of candidates who've got capacity and have indicated so today. And conditions are favouring sheet plants at the moment. Paper prices certainly softened in 2018 and continue to soften in 2019, as I understand it. And I think there's still going to be a bumpy ride as a result of the Brexit situation, because as soon as this stockpiling has been worked through, what do we do for the 31st of October? And companies are going to be making the same decisions, or are they, about stocking product again? Are they going to put them into big storage? So I think it's going to be a seesaw year for us in 2019. That's it. Thank you. So a question to ask of you. Do you want to ask us some questions or go to the bar? Do you want to ask us a few questions? You've got a golden opportunity to speak with Kim and Joe, and by all means, please do ask away. May I also just say one thing? Not being a self-publicist, as all of you will know, if you have the opportunity of watching TV on Saturday morning, watch QVC between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And you'll hear me talking about another subject, wildlife. Look forward to seeing you. Okay.